got like these like coconuts. Look at those. Look at those. Oh my god, attention to detail.
What was her name again?
Jesse James.
Jesse James. Thank you so much. Jess James, sorry. Jess James, thank you so much for the cookies. It's alright, beer. It's a cold Alberto. I shouldn't talk with my mouth full. It's probably not good for viewers. But we're rolling, dude. We're ready. Your mic's right there. You know how to talk into those, right?
Hello?
You've done it before. Oh, shit. I always forget that.
Well, for me to hear?
No, for me to hear, so I can make sure like
The audio's good? Cool.
yeah, it doesn't suck.
Oh, very cool.
Those cookies are pretty good. Pretty good.
I know. Just make it from scratch, dude. Jeff.
We love you, Jeff.
Are you much of a baker?
Cook? Yes. Baker? No.
It requires a different skill. It requires patience and measuring. When I cook, I just throw shit together and salt
Cooking
it.
I like because you can like you can adjust it in real time.
Yeah.
Whereas baking, it's like you pop in the oven, you know, voila.
It's fine. Yeah, it's finalized. Yeah.
Blow it.
What'd you do today?
I had a productive day. Woke up with my sisters. She had a Christmas party last night.
Oh, okay. I know you had a sister here.
Twin sister, man.
Twin sister?
Yeah, she lives right by.
Really?
Yeah, right around
Okay.
the corner.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, she's married. It's kind of funny because we're twins, but because of her being married and me doing the DJing, thing,
Yeah.
I feel like it's like I'm the younger brother, but we're twins.
You're the one your parents worry about.
I mean, yes and no, yes and no for different reasons.
Right.
So, what was I gonna say? All right, so I woke up there and went home, got ready. I went Christmas shopping.
Nice.
Got some good stuff. A little bit of SoCo, a little bit of thrifting.
Ooh, nice. You're a thrifter.
I love it. Yeah.
My wife.
All of this, yeah, thrifted, literally.
I made the joke of because Lauren, my wife, told me you should. I was looking for holiday Christmas stuff and like really cheesy stuff, and she goes, "You should look at, go to thrift stores." I go, "No, I don't want to wear stuff that people died in." She goes, "They haven't died and they wash it." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine," but
It's funny because my mother brings it up, but I never ever consider it. I know, and I still
it's
don't.
in the back of my head, and I'm like, but no, because as a kid, that's how we got some of our clothes, and then
Absolutely.
my parents started making money, and they're like, "We're taking you to J.C. Penney, Ramon. You're the baby of the family."
And you're like, winner,
Yeah.
chicken dinner.
My brother and sister had to do like this reusable diapers.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't have to. They didn't have a choice. And I got disposable diapers, so we can tell who's the favorite.
Reusable diapers.
Yeah.
Man.
That's back in the day.
Yeah, that's
That's gnarly and gross, and they would like wash them and like, I guess, but that was the way they did it back then. There wasn't, disposable diapers didn't happen until like 1999. No, I'm kidding. I don't know. I have no idea.
Nah, no way.
What'd you do last night?
Christmas party at my sister's.
Okay.
So I was on call.
Oh, that's last night. Yeah,
I was
yeah.
on call for my day job this weekend. So
Okay.
I had to say no to
That
gigs.
sucks. On the weekend, you have to work.
Yeah. 4 p.m. to 2 a.m. I'm on call.
Damn.
So sometimes, we have a lot of clients in South Africa. So
Okay.
They'll be in the hospitals working. And then,
Have you ever had to go to Johannesburg or South Africa?
my team has. I
that
haven't.
sucks.
I do want to go, but usually if they're sending the American team to those places, it's usually a big emergency. Like I've traveled outside the country before.
Yeah.
Mexico City. And great place, but I was there for like a really high priority trip. So I was like, all right, this was like, I was working like 10, 12 hours a day in the hospital.
Yeah. Have you ever? What's the longest plane flight you ever been on?
Like in one shot.
Yeah.
I did like, there were probably like 14 to 16 hours. It was Dusseldorf to Bangkok.
How did you enjoy it?
Well, when I was on the way home, I was so shot from my travels. I think I slept like 12 of those hours.
Right.
Like I was cashed. But no, I mean they have the good TVs. You watch movies. I think I had a lot to reflect on at that part of my life. So I was like, all right. I was journaling a lot.
Oh, okay. We went to Johannesburg for a job, and it was the worst fucking flight of my life. It was 16 hours long. It wasn't turbulent or anything. It's just stuck in one spot on a plane. Already hate flying. I hate the whole process of it. I don't like the fact that I'm not in control of a vehicle, and it was just 16 hours stuck in economy, just hating life. And I'm like, this job is going to suck. It sucked. But to your point on the way back, I was like, I don't care. I'm going home. This plane flight doesn't matter. Just get me home. But yeah, to this day, I don't want to ever go back.
And what was Johannesburg to New York, then New York to Austin?
No, we did Austin to Chicago, Chicago to London, London to Johannesburg.
So that was a 16-hour stretch?
The 16 hours are from London, Johannesburg. Okay. Yeah.
Wow, that's still not even a fun.
That's dumb. That's stupid. I was like, to get home. Yeah, and like I was a salaried worker, so it just like it didn't matter. Yeah, I had no choice, and I would never do that again. But yeah. So Thursday night, what time did you go to bed?
I wanted to go after party.
Yeah.
It was the EP release.
Yeah.
But when I got outside, everyone was already gone. And
okay.
Home. So I was like, all right, I guess we're going to bed.
So you went to bed.
Yeah.
What time did you get to bed?
Like 1:32.
I don't know how you do it. I did the after show at Alibi that one time, and it's very fun because I feel like downtown turns into a different beast. You see a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I saw, all the homeless people were chill because they're all asleep.
Yeah.
But just watching dudes crash on scooters, like the walk from my car to the show, I saw 3 people crash on scooters, and they're all drunk dudes. I'm like, dude, what is going on? This is wild. And then everyone's stumbling out of the bars. And then walking into the bar, people are just still going. I'm like, what? This is another world. I'm on Mars right now. So how do you do that?
Like,
where do you find it? Yeah.
Well, guys, so I think growing up, my mom's from New York City. She has always been a night owl. Like, when I call my mom to catch up, it's at midnight Texas time, 1 a.m. East Coast time, and I know she's watching TV. Like, I know exactly where she's sitting in the house. So I feel like that was kind of an innate thing. Like my family's, they're night owls. They'll stay up, they'll play cards and stuff.
Oh, man.
And I think that's also like a European thing too. It's like where my grandparents are from, right? So like it just kind of continued in the family line.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Now with the DJing and stuff and working a 9 to 5, I am feeling it more.
Yeah.
But
you're also getting
older. I still
older?
have this second. Yeah, absolutely. I turned 30 in like a couple months.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Welcome to the suck, dude. No, it's fine. It's better. It's better the older you get.
It's a lot. I think something people undermine and don't acknowledge enough is like if you do want a career in music, namely electronic music, DJing, you need to have a lot of self-control. You need have a lot of discipline to say no. It's not sustainable if you're going to every afters all the time.
You have to have a work ethic. Like, you can't do the partying, and even though I'm pretty sure you do that from time to time and indulge as you should, but you can't make that like part of the job. I guess
it wouldn't be sustainable.
Right?
Like, the guys who do it, they burn out.
Of course,
like, whatever time it is.
That's it's a different lifestyle, and it took that next morning, it took me a while to just like recalibrate. But I just kept telling myself it's just lack of sleep, Ramon. It's like you didn't dig ditches, you didn't do anything like really strenuous. It's just lack of sleep. So that's how I kind of framed it, and it was a fun show. It was a good time. So let's throw it back to when you were living in Philadelphia, right?
Yes.
Okay. How long did you live there for?
So I was living in Philly for like a year. Like it was the
Go Birds, by the way.
Go Birds. They're crushing it right now. But it was like, and it was also like, I don't know, I was like kind of couch surfing in Philly. I didn't have a proper lease. Yeah. And then I was seeing a girl in New York, so I would just kind of go back and forth between the two cities.
How far is that commute?
Hour and a half.
Okay. By train or?
Traffic. No, I was driving.
Okay.
So I would drive. I was bartending, so I would drive after my shift at like, 1 a.m., 1:30 in the morning. I'd get there at like 3. Yeah, it was wild. But that was 24, 25. Yeah. And it felt like a lot easier to do.
Did you go to college?
I did go to school.
What did you go to school for?
I studied biomedical engineering.
Oh, that's right. Okay, I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, undergrad.
You're wicked smart. And you graduated?
Graduated.
Dude, awesome. Good for you. I would have never known that. That's awesome. I guess I just don't think really highly of DJs. No, I'm kidding. It's just, that kind of explains a lot about you. You're a smart individual. So why did you pick that career? Or I'm sorry, that
biomedical.
Yeah.
So I mean, I honestly think I was like, there's a little bit of like societal, parental pressure, like indirectly, and then also just like practicality. Like I was in school doing well in math and science.
Yeah.
It's so hard for kids to pick a major because I feel like a lot of the subjects that you learn in high school aren't.
It sucks.
Indicative
Yeah.
of the job.
I'm not interested in doing algebra, but if you would have told me like you can do some
to something else,
to some career, yeah, then I'd be like,
exactly.
Okay.
And even like in my day to day with a job, it's very much an engineering job that I work from 9 to 5, but like I'm not using math.
Yeah.
You use the pattern recognition stuff and the like application of knowledge, which you do with like math to a small degree.
Yeah.
But they don't teach you that when you're learning the math. Like you learn that in college when you're applying the math. So, you know, I think there should be more classes getting students ready to know what they pick. And for me, it was like I wanted to be pre-med. I took all those prereqs with biomedical engineering, but then when I got to the end, I was like, I don't have the money or the time to be a doctor. I don't want to do this. But I was happy that I stuck with engineering because I think it gave me a lot of options after school. Like if I wanted to do business, I could do business. If I wanted to do like marketing, quite frankly, I could do it. So like the optionality of the major, I feel like made me stick with it too.
Did your parents tell you about like, hey, this is a good career to be, or this is a good
Yeah, for sure. Like a good major.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's how. Yeah, I went to college too. Surprisingly, did they tell you like this is going to be a good career choice for you, or?
Yeah. So my dad studied mechanical engineering.
Okay. All right.
And that's the thing. I came from a parent. My mother's an accountant.
Got it.
Like
okay.
They're both math and science heads. So I feel like again that came naturally to me.
Yeah.
And then you know, like when I got to college, it was like, okay, this is all clicking like really well. I did well in high school. I did very well in college, but it was like everything was just making sense. You know?
Okay. Wow, again, the only times that I get to interact with my musician clients is like the brief 15 minutes before a show or during a break, because after the show I want to get home and get to work. I want to get you your content.
Yeah.
But it's wild that I'm hearing all these interesting facts about you guys as musicians, and I if I don't know this, I'm certain your audience doesn't know this, and I think that's fascinating. That's what makes you authentically you, is that you have this background. Sure. So when you decided like, hey, I kind of want to try this. Well, I guess what first got you into wanting to DJ and being involved in electronic music?
Yeah, so
electronic music. That's not right?
No, electronic music.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. You could say electronic dance, but it's all
EDM.
Yeah. I know what you meant.
Yeah. When did you want to start pushing play behind the laptop?
Yeah. So it started with like in Jersey, growing up there, and then my mom's from New York. I went to school right outside New York City. Going to dance clubs is like a big thing. Like going to bars to just drink isn't as common. I felt that more in like, no, it's a thing.
Okay.
Obviously.
I mean,
but
Jersey,
like just to like
Jersey Shore taught me a lot about going.
I mean, no, and it's true. People like rip
I'm sure.
on
Yeah,
it.
right.
But like when I grew up, it was like we went out to go dance. Like
Yeah.
like when we were younger, we were getting drunk before we went. But like it was a big thing. Like I mean, that was the most enjoyable part, was the dancing part.
Sure.
So it was like the music part, right? And like, granted, I was not paying attention to like the specifics like I do now, like what makes me move and whatnot.
Yeah.
But I knew what I liked. Growing up, right outside New York City, like there's an eclectic group of people, and in turn that came with eclectic music. So like, at a bar, a classic like Jersey bar would be playing like Jersey Club. They'd play like big room EDM. They would switch to like really good rap and hip hop, like the old stuff. And then they would go to like reggaeton or bachata or like Latino inspired music. So like it was just like constantly switching, and
that sounds like a fun time. Yeah.
Yeah, great. You're dancing to it the entire time. So then I was like, okay, cool. I enjoy this. After I finished grad school, I moved to Spain, and there was a huge like techno scene, honestly. Like,
and they stay out till like the sun comes up, and then
like you go out at 2 a.m. 2 a.m. is like early. The club's like empty at 2. I'd say peak hours like 4 or 5.
Oh my God.
But
I can't fathom that.
What do you say?
I can't fathom that.
I don't know how I was doing it. I think like I was out, like I was doing that like 2-3 nights a week.
Yeah.
And it was just like, but it's also your day starts a little later too.
Yeah.
So
okay.
your whole schedule is altered.
It's a different lifestyle over there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So being there, I was like, okay, this is a whole different environment. Like that was a whole different beast. Like it wasn't like being at a bar with this like top 40-esque type of music. It was like more underground, and I was like, okay, well, this is cool. I don't know if I love techno music, but like I like this environment. These people I'm meeting are cool, and they're eclectic, and they're interesting. And then when I came home, I think that's when we started getting into, right before COVID happened, we started going to those like good house music clubs in New York, like when I was seeing The Girl and going back up, and like we were finding really cool things in Philly as well. There's a huge like jazz scene, and with that the jazz got integrated with house, so I'd see like house music artists with like a live bongo player, a live trumpet, and playing house music.
That would be awesome to see.
Super cool, like groovy, jazzy. Yeah. And then I was like, okay, well, this is really cool. And then COVID happens, and I'm like, okay, so like reset, right? Like, you know, the relationship didn't work out with the girl from New York. I ended up moving to Chicago just to like kind of get some space, I guess, from the situation. Yeah. But with all that being said, eventually I came that summer. I remember I met this kid who I'm still close with. His name's Gavin Chops. He lives in New York. He's a super successful like music artist. He kind of like, I was talking to him, he's like, what would you want to do if money didn't matter? I was like, honestly, I would love to DJ. And the thing with DJing was the orchestrating, the fact that like you're kind of like entertaining everyone. Like I entertain people generally. Like I would be like the one getting everyone to dance, and
that I see that in all your sets. You're the I don't know, the hype man's the right word, but I see that because that's your job. You're creating the party for these individuals, and that's totally. I think that separates you from some of the other DJs that I've seen, you know, around bars or been to their shows. It's like you are animated and you're trying to get the crowd involved. Regardless, like sometimes the crowd's just not feeling it, and then all of a sudden you change up the song, and then we see your energy, and then it, you know, it's
snowballs.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it's real. It's like I definitely like, and people have told me that before, but it is natural. It's just like it came naturally to me, and I feel like sometimes that's like
it's authentic.
You can't teach someone.
No,
that.
You can't.
So I was like, all right. But I can't teach myself how to DJ. So that was when I was like, I really want to try this. I also like the other gap I was trying to fill, I guess the other half of the story is I played competitive soccer my whole life.
Oh, okay.
Played in college. Really wanted to continue playing. It didn't work out. But I had this whole like, who am I now? Like I was a soccer player for 20 years, and now I had this whole gap in my life I needed to fill. I felt unfulfilled. Yep. I did well in school. You know, work is fine, but everyone kind of reaches that. Like they have a day job, and then they have all this time after work. They go to the gym, and it's like, what else? What is there more to do? And that's where I was like, I've tried a bunch of little things, and I was like, I would love if music was that. And I have to, you know, put my nose to the grindstone. It took me a couple years to finally like sit down with the DJ board and learn like the ones and twos and the fundamentals. But once that started happening, then I started getting gigs, and everything just kind of started progressing naturally.
Yeah. What was the, do you remember your first gig that you got paid to do?
I did. I do, and I did. It was a shit show. I fucking tanked it.
Oh, you blew it?
Yeah, man. How? And honestly, I love...
How do you blow a DJ set?
Nah, I'll tell you. So Swim was so good. Like, it was such a good... Like, I'm so happy that it happened, because it was so, like... I mean, in the moment, it fucking sucked, but, like, it laid a lot of like, it made the thing more serious for me, and it also gave me more confidence in the sense of like, okay, you really fucked up. One, it's never gonna be that bad, because it's nerve-wracking. It's so vulnerable. You're up there in front of fucking 100, 200, 500 people, and it's like, you know, everyone could hear it if you do. I mean, sometimes they don't know, but sometimes they do. In this case, I thought they did.
Well, because you care, like the fact that you fucked up, that's probably you're the biggest disappointment. Yeah,
I'm super hard on myself in general, and like that was one thing. But like, so I started DJing, and I was like, okay, so how am I gonna get gigs at these bars? I just moved to Austin, probably, so I had no connects here. Like I moved from Chicago. I knew one kid, my friend Kyle.
Yeah.
So I recorded a set at home, and it took forever to get it right. I did like a bunch of quick transitions, lots of little DJ tricks on like my little fucking board as big as your laptop. And I put it on SoundCloud, and it blew up. Like it, like the plays, like it was just like, because SoundCloud is a very good algorithm where if people start listening in the beginning, they'll push it. and it got pushed, and I was getting like people DMing me on SoundCloud, and then fucking my buddy started sending the mix out to bar and club owners to try to get me a gig, and one guy bit the bait, and he was like, yo, I'll put you on, I'll have you open for this DJ, and it was like a DJ who just played at Tomorrowland.
Okay.
So like big name. He's a little more commercial. His name was Topic, but good music regardless. Like good music. I'm pretty sure he was German. And I was playing like not direct support, but one below that. There were like 4 openers, and I was I guess like in the hole. So like it was like on deck, just direct support, and I was one before that.
Yeah.
And
what bar was this at?
it was at the Venue, so that place that I DJ'd for the ACL afters.
Yeah, okay.
That was the
All right.
last time I DJ'd there was when I blew it. So I was like, this is a full turnaround, man. Like fucking hell. But basically, man, I was like, so they had a club set up. I didn't own a club set up, so I was taking my fucking little Vespa all the way to Northeast Austin to these kids' houses because they like had the CDJs to practice on. So I was driving. I lived in Southwest Austin. These kids lived in Northeast. It was like an hour commute in total, right? Like 30 each way. And I was going in like this, in the rain to just go practice. At
Like you just did now.
Yeah, nice. But putting in the reps there, and they helped me format my flash drive, and it just like wasn't compatible with the older software. So when I put the flash drive in, none of my music was loading. And I was like, holy shit. And like, I'm an engineer too. Like, I'm like, I could fix this. And I'm like,
Right.
I'm power cycling, I'm resetting things, and it just wasn't working. So I told my boy,
Turn it off again?
yeah, no, I tried every like easy trick in the book. So I told my boy Kyle, I'm like, yo, you need to go to your house, get my laptop. I need to try to re-download this. In the meantime, someone was like taking my spot. By the time we got my music onto a functional flash drive, which was a different flash drive, my set time was over.
Okay.
Now, luckily for that show, and it was also like ironic. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense because it was my first gig. Out of all the DJs, including the headliner, I sold the most tickets. So like because they kept, they gave me a link to track them. I sold maybe like 80 to 100.
Nice.
It was like all my good friends came out, friends of friends, kind of that thing. And my boy, who's basically playing my manager, he's like trying to leverage, like we sold all these tickets, like you have to give him a shot. And they were all like, I mean, you're kind of right. So they put me on for like 30, 35 minutes, and there was just like a bunch of little settings on the CDJ. Like I was already nervous, and then like with all that shit that came up, I was stressed. And then there are these little settings on the CDJ that didn't like line up. Like the settings the kid was using before were in mine, but I didn't know how to change them. And again, I was pushing myself. I was trying to do a lot of like quick transitions and mashups. Like that was like when I first started, I would remix songs live. I still do it now, but that was like, I was doing it like every other track. And it was just like, I was just like, fuck, this is tough right now. And then on top of it, no one tells you these things, but like the fucking lights are hitting you in the face. I'm wearing my glasses. There's smoke. I can't even see the fucking board, man. Fucking, there was one point, it's like the middle of October. I'm sweating my face off. I swing my head. My glasses go fucking flying. They're next to the camera girl in the corner. And I'm like, can you get my glasses? It's so fucking loud. She's like, you're doing great, honey. And I'm
Keep
like,
going.
oh my God, I can't see. I'm blind.
She's fist pumping you.
Literally, I'm blind as a fucking bat, bro. And then I'm screaming. I'm like, Kyle, my shades. I think someone noticed, like, they're like, yo, Gerald's glasses fell off and he cannot fucking see. So he grabbed my prescription sunglasses. I threw those on. Kind of felt like a douche with them on, not gonna lie, at the time. Because they changed. If I started off with them, fine. But the fact that it was like mid-set, I was like, dude, what the fuck, bro? And then, yeah, and it was fucking, I just felt embarrassed. And more so, honestly, I know people fuck up, and I just felt more disappointed in myself. Like, I felt like I didn't prep enough, and like I should have known these little things.
That's what I was going to ask. Is there like time? Because I noticed now you just like, you go for the first DJ before you performs, and then they get off, and it's like a seamless transition.
Yes.
How do you like make sure your music is working?
I mean, if you wanted to go beforehand,
yeah, but you're not going to get there like 2 hours before your set.
This was also like, to be fair, we went there 2-3 hours before the show started, and when they told us to come and do a sound check, and they didn't have everything set up. So like, they were like, yeah, come at this time, and I was going to check my music, just to make sure.
Sure.
They actually weren't. They weren't set up yet, which is like also typical. Like people in the entertainment industry, I think, are
come sound check. Yet our equipment is not going to be ready for you to sound check.
Yeah, genuinely. So
is that like the venue's problem or okay?
That was the venue, but I also
not necessarily the name, the venue, but like, is that typically the house's problem? Okay,
yeah, internally it was an issue, like on that date.
Yeah.
I have dealt though in the entertainment industry. Like sometimes I just feel like I don't know if it's an Austin thing.
Put that mic a little closer. There you go.
Yeah, I got you. I don't know if it's an Austin thing because I have a feeling in New York and Miami and those bigger cities it's not as prevalent. But sometimes I feel like hospitality, entertainment, it's like that level of professionalism lacks a little bit because the bar is a little lower than those bigger cities.
Right.
Where like house music, electronic is like, it is the tits. It's the, it is the bee's knees. It is like the creme de la creme. And they can get away with like, oh, the sound wasn't ready yet. It's like, okay, well, I don't know. And I don't know if it's another thing. I haven't been like a resident or DJing consistently in other cities. But when I do DJ in other cities, I mean, they're always dialed.
Okay.
Like I've played in other ones and it's always like what they say is what they say.
Right. So that obviously didn't deter you from, pursuing a DJing career. But what is Austin's not issue, but why isn't EDM? Why do you think EDM is not as big of as in like New York
cities? Yeah, I think it's getting there, but like there's not enough venues. The ones that we have are solid, but there's just not enough for the amount of DJs that there are here. Like quite frankly, like the Concourse, incredible venue. They get unbelievable talent, like all my favorite artists who play in like the Ibizas and Tulums of the world.
They just got a Ganimal this year.
Yeah, they did put me on. Cheers. Thank you, Andrew Parsons.
Because I remember when our first meeting, that was something that you said, and I was like, well, I mean, there's a young crowd here. Some of my friends, they go to all the big festivals and they really love it. Yeah. And I experienced my first, EDM concert at, I think it was at Moody. No, it was at Moody, and it was an awesome time.
Who'd you see?
Millennium. Yeah.
Nice.
It was.
Yeah, I've seen Millennium a few times.
It was the first time I visited Mali, and it was with my best bud. It was just my wife was out of town. I didn't have anything else to do.
The old ball and chain.
Yeah. I didn't have anything to do, and then I was literally on my way to the driving range, and my buddy Sam was like, "Hey, let's you should come to this concert." I'm like, "Yeah, sure, whatever. I'll get a ticket." And he sent me the link, and the tickets were like $200. I'm like, "Fuck, what?" I already said yes. So, anyways, I go, and I'm just there for a good hang. I know nothing of Millennium. And during this time, I was having I was rethinking about what I wanted to do with my life. Like, is videography, photography, is that the thing that I want to do for the rest of my life? Mm-hmm. And I was just kind of on the fence about it. There was a lot of cool things about it that I liked. The inconsistency of money, that's always, worrisome as an entrepreneur. But I was like, yeah, man, I don't know what I want to do. And then we went to that concert, and it was such a life-changing moment because
dude, everyone's first show, I was gonna say it's a very similar, but in a good way.
No, in the best possible way. And it was interesting the way life kind of aligned things. Like I could have said no, but I was like, you know what? Who cares about the ticket price? I'm going with my best friends. We're going to have a good time. And they were not wrong. It was life-changing. And that's the whole point of that show was like, I guess he was a recovering drug addict or he had some issues. And so he was doing like these visuals of fire and ice. So I remember getting blasted by this heat and the visuals were very almost hellish like. And I'm like, oh my God, what is going on right now? And then we felt like the gust of wind and the cool breeze. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is going to all work out. And everything aligned in my brain. I'm like, okay, yes, Ramon, do video, do photo because this is what you love. And somehow, some way, like I wanted to be a part of that experience as a, photographer, not necessarily for Millennium, but for someone else. Absolutely. So that kind of just changed my mindset and was like, take anything and everything that comes your way. Absolutely. Like regardless of what money is, like, don't worry about it. Money will come. You're still young. You still have all these, ambitious things. You're still healthy. just do what you need to do to fulfill a good and happy life. And thankfully my wife is awesome. She's like, yeah, go ahead, do the music thing, do whatever. Just have fun. And, you know, and so that was my first intro into like EDM and the scene. I'm like, I want to do this. This is fun. Yeah. This is a good time. People are having a good time. So that was I don't know where we went off on the tangent on that, but it just seems like, me though, yeah. It just seems like the kids, like I'm a fucking old geezer, but the younger crowd would be in the Utes. Two Utes.
Two Utes. A Ute? What's a Ute?
It just seems like since Austin is such a younger city, more and more people would be into this scene.
Yeah, so...
But to your point, it is growing, and you're kind of helping that scene grow.
Yeah, absolutely. So I definitely think it's growing here, but I think what the issue is like Austin at the end of the day is still a small city, and there's still a lot of other things to do, right? Like people love going to the country bars. They like going to do the honky tonk and the two-stepping bars. They like just going to a classic bar that's playing top 40, which is fine. But I think the issue is that Austin isn't branded as an EDM house music city. Yeah. So when people visit, they're not going to do those things. So segueing even more, the people I play in front of every weekend, it's the same fucking 1,000 people that circulate. Like we are all of the artists here, all of the event planning companies, I don't care how you spin it, they're all pulling from the same pool. And it makes it really challenging because it's like, yeah, in Miami and New York, you have more competition, but like New York's 9 million fucking people. Yeah. Half of them listen to house music. Here, it's like 2,000. Yeah. And we're all pulling from the same pool, and it makes it challenging.
That also, I don't know, it makes it seem like there's a tighter knit community that can take place and support each other, right?
So that is the double-edged sword, the caveat. The good part, the good side of it, the Shadows Trade is like, it's too small. The good part is like, it is a very great place to get your career going because it is so small. Yeah. Because like, you play like, what happened with me, I played one or two, like once I got my feet under me, I played one or two good sets, and then my DMs were blowing up. I want you to play here, play this private show, do that.
And you got Resolute Media sliding into your DMs.
Yeah, there you go. Then my boy Ramon, how we doing? He was like, but, and so like getting your feet under you, playing also like the fact that I played at Concourse, opening up for one of my favorite artists, Francis, like, you know, a venue holds 2,500 people. Like to get there, I did that in 2 years. To do that in Miami or New York, good luck. Like to go play the Brooklyn Mirage, no way. But there's a point here where like you hit the ceiling and there's only so much you can do. And like you continue opening up for people, but if you want to make it a career where you're the one playing those bigger shows, I personally believe that you do need to make a move to a bigger city where you have more people coming for that music. So like Miami, New York, Chicago, LA, Mexico City, whatever. That's just my opinion. I mean, I'm like pretty steadfast on it. But I think this is an awesome, like the community in Austin is such a special place. And like, who knows, maybe in 10, 15, 20 years when people are like, oh, like Sarah Landry, she got her career in Austin. She's a huge techno artist. Okay. Or like, oh, like Avalika or oh, Ganimal, like they all started in Austin. Maybe people will start coming here to get their careers going. But for right now, there's not enough big names coming out of this city. Whereas like Chicago, it's like the birthplace of house music. You got Gene Ferris, you got Green Velvet, you got Lee Foss, and they like paved the way for house music. People know that, so they're gonna go there, and that tradition is so rich, and the culture's so rich with that it's like a beautiful cycle. But here, it's like that thing isn't there yet, you know.
So why don't you want to stick around and build it?
Yeah, so that is a portion of like, I guess, the inner conflict. Like I've had someone else challenge me with that, and I think that's a fair argument too. Like, you know, get that Afro house scene going here, which like is definitely valid. But there's also other reasons that I want to make the move next year. Yeah. Like my family, I'm from the East Coast. I've been living in the Midwest and the South for the past like 5-6 years. I miss the beach. I'm ready to be back on the East Coast. It's a little more connected to like the rest of the world in the sense of like like, you know, I want to move to Miami. Like, I can take a $200, $300 round trip flight to Colombia, like book it the week of.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of my music is being played in Colombia right now. So that's
and you know that through like Spotify? Okay.
Yeah.
That's another question I'll ask you down the line.
But yeah, so it's like, it's a little more connected. The scene's really big there. Also, and I think this is a big one too, the amount of venues that have been around for a while there that play good house music keeps that tradition alive, so to speak. So you have the Club Spaces of the world, the Jolene Sound Rooms, those are all bigger venues in Miami where like they consistently get great house music. In Austin, it's the Concourse Project, and that's it. And like Concourse Project is also 3 years old. Like, it's so new, and like there aren't those places that have been around for 10 years that are like, this is the spot. And there's places I love spinning at, but the turnover is crazy here. Yeah. It is in the entertainment business in general, but like you don't have those like long lasting rooted places where people can be like, oh yeah, you know, like this so-and-so place in Austin has like fostered great house music artists. We should go here when we go and visit. This is a staple. Right. Like, we don't have that as a city right now. And again, to your point, could I open my own up and start that? Absolutely. But it's like, I miss the East Coast. I want to be near my family.
Sure.
It's still close to Austin where I could come back and play. And also that the genre of music that I've been leaning towards producing, like the Afro house, is already huge there, and it's not as big here. So like, I'm trying to play the hand that I'm dealt. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. No. I think you answered that perfectly, and you have to do what you want to do to live the best life that you want to live. So,
yeah.
But it's just, I didn't really see, well, living in Austin for so long, I don't understand that we have so many cool things going on, different genres Absolutely. Of music. You could, in one night, you could see so many different genres of music, and I forget that. And it seems like EDM is like, I don't know, the punk scene, you know, it's not well known. It's underground almost. Yeah. And the reason why I say like, why don't you build it is because look at what Nirvana did in Seattle.
Yeah.
And it's like, no one heard of grunge until, you know, they came out. Then we got into, well, I mean, I think there's debate there, but, you know, Pearl Jam, the Melvins, all these other bands, Mudhoney, that came out of that area because they didn't have anything else. They were just doing what they knew. Yeah. And they built that community. And
then they made it.
Exactly.
Like,
yeah.
Seattle is like punk,
it is.
Indie bands.
Yeah.
Now.
And so, no, that's just, I love the way you answer that, because you're doing you. Then I'm not going to like shit on that because it's your life. But I do think you are doing something good here, and it would just suck for you to leave, but not leave in like forever. I know you would come
also,
back.
Yeah, the world's so
right.
connected.
Yeah,
I'd be back.
Yeah, exactly.
I foresee myself like, it's a 2-hour flight. It's cheap. Like from Miami to here, I foresee myself like easily playing like 5 to 10 sets a year in Austin still.
Yeah.
You know?
So when it comes to creating a song, I know I joke when I say like, oh, you're just pressing play. And I learned that in the bigger, you know, concerts, or like the one that I went and saw at Millennium, it's all pre-programmed because there's so much going on. You don't want to leave, you know, room for error. So I get that it's programmed, but there's still an artist behind the music. And so what kind of goes into making a song, even though you quote unquote are pressing play, but what goes into the back end of that and creating the music?
Just creating the music.
Yeah. Just creating. Yeah.
Well, I'm still like relatively new at it. I've been doing it. Like I was taking classes for the first 6 months of this year.
That's awesome.
And then the second 6 months I started putting in the practice.
Right.
Have 4 like proper singles out on Spotify. I mean, that process, I mean, a lot of it's experimentation, but also like when you start experimenting, you know the things you like, oh, I want my kick drum to sound like this. And I know I use all these effects on the kick drum to make it feel and sound like this.
Right.
So like once you kind of get, the beginning is always the hardest, like with anything else, finding that process. For me, my process is like, I love like making the groove and the beat first. So I don't even do any of like the synthesizers or any of that yet. I'll do like, especially because Afro is like very percussive heavy or centric, let's say. Like the percussives drive the groove. Whereas like if you take tech house, I think the synthesizers are a little more important, or a little more equally important. But for me, it's like the synthesizers add texture. So I want to just build out the drum and the beat first. Because at the end of the day, it's like, are you going to dance to this? And you're dancing to the rhythm. You're
And
dancing
I'm
to the
sure
groove.
you're kind of like, you're learning from experience in the crowd. You're like,
Exactly.
you're picking out what makes the crowd
moves
move or what piques their interest. Yeah.
Am I going to get out of my chair and dance right now?
Yeah.
And I think that's like the beauty of, because some people I feel like rush it a little bit where they're like, I remember I was like 3 months into DJing. People like, do you produce? And I was like, no, I literally just started learning this. But I'm very happy that I did, because they go hand in hand. Like, you could be the best fucking producer in the world, but if you don't know how to perform and DJ and read a crowd, your sets are gonna be mid. And that's like, quite frankly, that's where you make your money. You make your money playing the live sets. Like, yeah, you can get like, you know, because your songs, you're getting paid so little for the streams on Spotify. Like, they get paid to play in front of people. But like, I know plenty of producers that I think their music is incredible, and I think they're average DJs and their sets are mid, and it's like they're not engaging, and it's like, okay. And then the opposite, I know people who make average music but they're unbelievable performers, and it's like, yeah, honestly, sometimes I'd rather go pay to see them. So with that being said, taking my 2 years of like DJing experience and then applying that to producing, I'm happy with, because I'm like, I know what little pieces of songs, like, you know, make me move, give my friends a stank face, like get them dancing. So now it's just like, it's putting Legos together. It's like taking that piece, doing that, putting it here, making a false drop here, like whatever it may be. Or like even DJing, when I'm on a build, I'm like, okay, these were the effects that I would use on the DJ board. Okay, now I'm on the build of my own song, making it from scratch. I'm taking the same fucking effects and applying them. Yeah. You know, the filters, the echoes, the reverbs, whatever. So that was cool too. It was like, I already knew like a little bit of music theory and structure because of what I learned from DJing. So I was able to like take that knowledge and apply it quicker than if I was just going in just super cold.
One of the other artists that I had on here, Nico Little, he's a guitarist. He rips it on his guitar. And he told me, like, and this podcast happened probably a week ago. He was like, yeah, I'm taking my first guitar lesson this week. I go, what the hell are you talking about? I've seen you play before. Yeah. You know how to play guitar. And he's like, well, you know, I just want to invest in learning how to become a musician and learning how to play, you know, the guitar properly and all this shit. I'm like, that is awesome. That is what I want to hear, not only as a fan, but, you know, as someone who you hire me to create content, but the fact that you're taking this seriously and you're investing in yourself, that's really awesome. And like, it shows that you're humble because you still want to learn. And that's great. That's, as a fan as well, that's comforting to hear that you're taking it seriously. And
absolutely. I definitely like, this is where, can I grab another beer?
I was gonna, you know, I'll grab it for you. Keep going.
Cool. But so it's kind of interesting when you talked about like the, I guess like you asked about my background with engineering, and I feel like it applies so much to how I learn. So like, I'm a big data guy. Like, I want to see the math behind something, or like learn the fundamentals before. I'm not gonna like go in, like, I am creative, but I'm not like a creative in the sense where like, oh, I'm just gonna like have no structure and throw all these things at the wall and see what sticks. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna do that to some degree, but I want like an operation. I want a process. Like, that's what I learned in college, like make an efficient process and execute it. So like with learning music or DJing, it's like, yeah, no, I want to learn the fundamentals first. And honestly, like, cheers. It's helped a lot. With being able to make a song, make a process, and also be efficient with my time. There's some Sundays I sit in for 5 to 7 hours, like 5 hours, 7 hours, and I'm like done a whole demo. I'm done half a song, and I'm like, I'm just starting out. I'm not saying like this thing's gold by any means, but like, it sounds good. It's got great pieces. It flows. There's structure. It's mixed decently, and I'm like, all right, it's like a good start, you know?
So how do you know when to balance like the analytical brain versus the creative brain?
I feel like it's not like I'm making a conscious effort, but like it comes a little more naturally. Sometimes I feel like with a lot of creatives, especially with people who make music, they don't know when to like say that the track is over, in the sense of like, they're like, nah, I need to add a little bit more. And
when I'm done with a video, I'm fucking done. I'm not thinking about anything else.
No,
like,
same.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel too, where I'm like, as long as it has like, if I listen to it through and I'm like, okay, I feel the tension in the build, I think the drop is like great, it's getting me to dance. I'm looking at the master EQ and I'm seeing that all the frequencies are represented. I'm seeing like the lows, the mids, and the highs. I'm like, in generally each part of the song as much as they can be, you know, assuming they're all present. Those pieces, maybe there's a hook, maybe there's good lyrics, maybe not. Are the lyrics integrated? Does everything make sense? Like why? Because this is the analytical part. Why did you put that instrument there? You know, because sometimes people just throw fucking shit in the song, and it's like, well, why'd you put that in there? Like, I think there should be an absolute reason. Where does it add texture? Does it add atmosphere? Does it build energy? Does it add more? You know, whatever it may be. But sometimes people are like, oh, it sounds cool, and I'm like, it just fucking sounds out of place. And now, like, I'm not saying I'm right. Like, that's just the way my brain works.
That's the way your ear is,
too. But that's the analytical piece of like, I think everything needs a purpose. And then sometimes it's like you don't have enough. But usually with music making, I think 9 times out of 10, you have too much. And one of my really good buddies, he does music full time. He's been doing it for like 10 years in New York. And he's like, you know when a song is over, when you can't take, or you're completed with a song when you can't take anything else away. When like if you take something away, it actually changes the song. If you could take it away and the song don't change, leave it the fuck out. And he's fucking right. It's like and like I'm not saying, again, I'm not a pro. This is just advice I've gotten from people who do this professionally. Like it is like a thing that I think people when they start out, they just want to like more, and it's just too cluttered. It's too much.
We're gonna take a quick commercial break. By commercial, I mean my buddy wrote me a commercial for Resolute Media.
All right, nice.
So this episode is brought to you by Resolute Media, where Resolute Media makes the best videos in Texas that don't require VPN.
Nice.
Get it?
Yeah, I
get
did.
it?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Mike. So when you are creating a song, you know the intricacies of the song. When you're adding elements, do you think the audience is going to know these specific characteristics or elements? Do you care that they want, like, do you want them to hear these specific synthesizers, these like levels or whatever?
I never expect, like, I guess like 90% of them to. Other artists, absolutely, they know like all those little pieces. Yeah. So I think, like, you know, like if you're building out a whole MIDI, so if you're recording yourself playing a synthesizer live and then you use that, like that's respect, you know. And especially me, I don't have a music background. My parents never put me in a music class my entire life. So I'm like learning piano right now at the same time. And not formally, but I'm like,
right, but
you know, going YouTube Academy.
Yeah.
And it's like YouTube University, and it's like, that's where I think it matters. But it's funny because I think like people don't know exactly what it is in the song that makes them feel a certain way.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I added this atmospheric pad to like make people feel a little more emotion in this part.
Yeah.
But like someone might say like, oh, I love the way the song makes me feel. Maybe they can't articulate it, but you know, I think it's this thing that I put in that made them feel a certain way.
Right.
So like to answer your question in a roundabout way, like I don't mind if people don't identify like, oh, that synth bill was great or whatever. Like for me, qualitatively, it's like if people like think the song sounds good, but also on the flip side, like I have great friends who don't fuck with my music in the sense of like it's not their favorite like subgenre of house music, but I'm not offended. Like at the end of the day, it's like it resonates with some people and it makes me feel good. Now, if I put out a crap piece of music that was like mixed poorly and like sounds like shit, that's one thing. But if it's like I trust the way that it sounds, I know it sounds good, maybe it's not for other people, that's where you have to also as an artist like understand that's subjective. You can't take it personally. You have to drop the ego. I mean, you know how you feel with it's probably the same thing with the videography stuff, right?
It is. I've kind of, as I gotten older, I learned to not put my emotions into a video for fear that my feelings are going to get hurt, but more so putting the importance of like, does the client like it? If the client likes it, that's all I care about. Like if they don't have an idea, if they want to trust my artistic direction, I'll do what I think is right for the video or that specific project. But at the end of the day, if they don't like it and they want me to change certain parts, I've grown to be okay with that. Whereas before, when I first started out, I'm like, no, this is the way it has to be because of art, because this is the way it makes it feel. The juxtaposition between this shot and this shot just makes sense. They don't know anything, but I've sort of like, that's not like I'm trying to earn money, but I'm also trying to be artistic for the client, you know.
It's definitely that is the balance
yeah.
of any like artistic thing, which I think is it's really challenging.
It just comes with experience. You got to like put your feelings aside and do what's best for the collaborative project, because like when you're working with clients, they're on your team. They're not trying to offend you. They're not trying to piss you off. They're not trying to, you know, make your video project turn to shit. They're just trying to do what's right for their business or their art. And I'm like, okay, I'm just a facilitator. I'm just here to try to make it look good for you.
Yeah.
And if you're happy, then I'm happy. Now, when it comes to my own personal projects, like with my YouTubes now, it's just, I'm just throwing shit together. I'm just trying to get more and more content out there just so that I become better at, you know, being a vlogger or just being better at interviewing people.
Yeah.
So, those I
you're
like.
doing a great job.
Oh, thanks. I try. Yeah, these things, it's part of me that just wants to be creative, wants to find the humor in things and, you know, make it digestible for everybody, but also shine a spotlight on important people that I think are doing cool things. Man, I had a good question that I was going to ask you before you threw it back to me.
Music.
Music,
analytical side.
Oh yeah, here we go. So
Balancing.
With the beautiful thing of the internet,
Yeah.
it's a new thing that we're entertaining as humans.
Absolutely.
How has the internet, well, what are the do's and don'ts of DJing for any person who's thinking about, you know, getting into that career or that hobby or, you know, trying to be a DJ?
Do's and don'ts, like...
Yeah, just like whatever. What do you think are the do's and don'ts of DJing?
Like if I'm physically DJing, or like, you mean like if I'm trying to build my DJing brand?
Let's do when you're performing.
Okay, do's and don'ts?
Yeah. Are there do's and don'ts?
I mean, there definitely are, but it's really hard because it depends also, like, who you're DJing in front of.
It's very subjective. I get it, but
yeah.
when you're
now, honestly,
in
for
Ganimal's
me,
mind,
I think if you want to be taken seriously as an artist, like, stay away from Beatport Top 100. Like, that's a big one. And like, granted, I know the songs are gonna hit, but like, at least be a little creative, remix it, like, pull out the acapella and put it over another track. Like, it takes some time, but like. And that's as an artist, right? But now if you're talking like as a DJ, if your job is to get people to dance and you're playing at a bar on fucking West or East, like, yeah, you're going to be playing the hits and the bangers. But like, I'll tell you right now, like, I think if people who are artists don't take that person as seriously, like, I personally like don't. Like, but then again, it's subjective. I'm not saying it's right. Because then other people, like, there's people who play all the hits. Like, there's, you know, you got the Chainsmokers. You got Two Friends who, like, remix and do mashups, and they're huge. And then it comes to the question is, like, how do you define success? Yeah. Like, is it how much money you're making? Is it going on tour? Like, for me, it's expression and fulfillment.
All of
it's
those
like,
for me.
But like, for me, it's more so like I thought about it. I'm like, okay, where do I want to take my career? Do I want to sell out MSG like John Summit?
Fuck yeah.
Or would I rather play in Ibiza around 300 people who really respect like my full expression of art? I'm not gonna lie, I'd prefer the latter.
I get it. I know.
And that's just a preference. Cool. It's not.
I know.
And you know, I'm not saying there's one right answer, wrong answer, but for me, it's like I've DJ'd in different environments. Like I've played at like the big commercial venues here, and I've played at like more underground spots. And for me, playing to an underground audience of 150 people in a packed room till 6 a.m. I prefer that over playing in front of 500 people at a commercial venue when I'm playing like the bigger hits, you know?
Right.
And I understand, like, again, you have to do what you got to do in those venues. Like, if you're getting hired to do a job, like, with the client, you have to do it. Yeah. But, like, I also think, like, if you want to be taken seriously as, like, an artist where you're expressing yourself, like, don't follow the trend. Like, do what speaks to you, you know? And yeah.
That's another kind of segue of that first question. So on YouTube, what I can't stand is like videos that say, this is the most epic video ever, and here's why. You'll have to watch for the, you know, it's like clickbaity. I don't like that shit. I don't want to ever do that on my channel. But it appears that that is the game that you have to play to grow your exposure, to be profitable on YouTube. Now, granted, I do want to make money on YouTube, but I want to be authentic about it. So I'm coming at a crossroads right now. It's like, do I want to be successful at YouTube and earn like $5 a month through whatever, but still that's better than nothing. And if in order for me to do that, do I have to create those clickbait? Yeah. Or do I stay authentic to what I want to see on YouTube? Because I feel like if I partake in playing the game, I'm just feeding that monster. That monster's going to grow and grow and grow, and we're like, I'll still be upset.
The genuine artists are
exactly. Yeah. So to you,
well, I was gonna ask, what did you end up deciding? You're still figuring it out.
Well, I'm still figuring it out. There is, because I was at a comedy show on Friday, and there was a lot of interesting stuff that I could have turned into like clickbaity videos, but I'm like, I'm going on my gut right now. So my gut tells me, don't do that. Just be authentic. Just let it play out. Let the comedy be authentic in there. Let the comedians tell their jokes. Let them be the comedians, and you just be the documentarian. So I think that's the kind of route I want to go, is like, I feel like I live an interesting life through artists like you and through those comedians and through everybody I work with. And so if I'm just a documentarian behind it, I don't necessarily have to play that game, but I can, capture the interesting things that are engaging, and maybe that'll get me somewhere. So the answer is, I'm not going to play that game right now.
Nice.
And
respect.
And thanks. So how do you, like, as a DJ,
like, navigate the same situation?
Same situation. Do you play the hits? Do you play the pops and pop songs and mix in your own stuff? What's the gameplay there in your head?
I'm not gonna lie. When I started out, I feel like I try to stay away from those big songs that were trending,
right,
as much as I could, or maybe at least find like a good, less commercial remix of it. Or I would remix it myself. Like, I would use this AI software. I'd pull out the acapella. And I think this is how I got like my chops in Austin, was like, I would do this live where I'd like find the key of the song, pull the acapella in, and then put it over like a bass line that had no lyrics. And I think it kept me authentic as an artist, because I was remixing live and I was like showing at least some prowess with DJing, and then additionally I was keeping the crowd, they were enjoying it because it was some acapella that they knew, right? But then I got to the point where I was like, okay, like, not that I thought it was like cheesy or corny, but I'm like, I can do better for myself. And I'm not gonna lie, man, I'm like, I think moving into that direction where I'm making like less commercial music and playing less popular music, my crowd has definitely like gotten smaller, but I feel better because I'm being true to myself. So it's like, it is like the caveat of like, yeah, like, now don't get me wrong, I could still get those bigger gigs here and get paid the money that, like, I think I deserve. Yeah. But for me, it's like longevity. It's like, I want to see my career go as an artist. So I had to take essentially 2 steps back to move 5 forward in the other direction. But like, I trust the process, and I truly think that like, if you're doing what you want to do in the form of expression, well, like, I believe in trend setting. I am not a follow the trend kind of person. Like, I do not have TikTok. I'm so against it. People think I'm an idiot because I should be posting on it.
Man, I don't have TikTok either. I had to get off of it. I'm just like, this is way too much.
Instagram was too much for me.
Yeah, I know.
I got it just for DJing. I never had it my whole life.
Well, the thing is, I see these social media apps as a tool.
Yeah.
Like with any tool, you have to know how to use it. Like, I have a skill saw in my shed. If I improperly use it, I could cut a finger off. But because I know how to use it and know when to use it, then it becomes a proper tool and it serves my life. That's the same with social media. You just have to use it as a tool to gain your exposure. But then again, like, you kind of fall in that trap. God, if you ever see me making skits on Instagram, you know how bad it is. Like, doing like the video skits of people like acting out. I hate that with a passion.
No, and when I was interviewing you to be on like the team, you had asked me, and I was like, all right, good, because I don't want to make those fucking videos.
Yeah,
there's no fucking way.
So cringy and terrible.
No.
And I think those skits do work for like comedians, because some of them, from what I've seen from the local comedians here in Austin, they work.
And they also play it off like they're making a joke of it. They're
right.
satirizing.
Yeah, exactly. So it works for them. But when I see like the mom doing it and doing the voiceovers, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Yeah. What the fuck am I watching? This is ridiculous. But yeah, it's just a balance. Do you play the game or not? And I think I love that answer that, yeah, you haven't played the game and you lost some, audience retention, but
absolutely
you feel better about it. But I think to your point, in the long run, it's going to work out for you for the benefit of your career.
I'd rather play in front of people who love me for me, right?
Yeah. So balancing life or balancing your DJing with your 9 to 5, how does that work out?
Fucking hard.
Yeah.
I definitely I think the first year, my biggest challenge was like when I was creating a name for myself with the DJing. I was taking every set that came my way for the most part. I probably took like 80%, 90% of the sets that came my way.
Yeah.
And I was working 8 to 5 every day, sometimes traveling for work, and it was fucking exhausting. I had a residency last summer, and I was playing 2 to 6 a.m. literally every Saturday. Like last summer, as in like 2023.
Who the hell is staying out till 6 a.m. in the morning?
There were people. And they all...
Were they just coming home from skiing? Because goddamn, that's the only way I could think of like...
Ironically, they're all like such functional professionals, which is also crazy. But I think that was the hardest thing, was balancing my social life, my relationship at the time, my work life, and then DJing. I was like, something's got to give. And my sleep. You have to pick and choose. Now this year, I feel like I know I had such a better balance of it. My mental health was so much better. My emotional health.
What did you balance out? Like what
did I balance it?
What made it work?
Honestly, the biggest one was like saying no to gigs that didn't that I think I'd be like, I do gigs that I think I can bring as much as they're giving me.
Yeah.
So unless it's like a very, very good friend and they need help, and it's like, okay, I'm bringing way more to the table than they're paying me or giving me in exposure, but they're a good friend, put those anomalies aside. It's like if we like vibe on the same, like, do you want my kind of music? Am I going to be able to play long enough that I can build a set and like, take the crowd on a little bit of a ride? And I found a few places that allowed me to do that. I think they compensated me well to like the price that I thought was appropriate. And I was like, yeah, these work. So like, but with that filter, I was only DJing like, last year, sometimes there was like, I was playing 3 gigs a week. This year I was doing like max 4 gigs a month.
Okay.
So 1 gig a week on average, max. But for the most part, it was like this whole second half of the year, because I was focusing on production, it was like 1-2 really big gigs.
But don't you feel you had to
yes,
kind of overload you have to overload yourself. You have to eat shit. You have to learn how to season it just right, so that way it becomes easier to digest those shit sandwiches. But that's part of the game. Yeah, being a creative and being an artist.
Yeah, you absolutely have to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I tell everyone too, like when I'm giving advice, I'm like, again, like I didn't make it. I'm not saying that, but like to build a following, like you just gotta fucking put yourself in front of everyone. And it's important to learn how to play different types of music in front of different crowds. So like I was DJing afters like 2 or maybe a month ago. It was like 7, 8 a.m. I was with all these like minimal house kids. It's like a genre I don't really love, but I'll go to those shows. Like I know all the artists. I have a huge folder of it on my flash drive. Like not as big as the music I like to play and I produce, but I got it and I was fucking chopping it up with them. And like 2 of the kids were like, I thought you just played Afro. I'm like, well, I produce it. But I'm a DJ at the end of the day. I can play all of it. I have it all. So I think it's very important to learn those, because you learn different styles and techniques, and like you learn how to read different crowds, which is important as a DJ.
And how do you read crowds? What's the process? Okay.
Keep your fucking head up. You could tell, I think, when a DJ is shit, his fucking head or her head is down the entire time.
Yeah.
And it's vulnerable. It is tough. It takes a lot of balls. It took me a lot of courage to play a song and look up to see if people were dancing. Like, it's scary.
Yeah.
But if they're not looking up, it's like they're not confident, and it's like they're afraid to see the result. And it's like, it's okay if you play 1 or 2 songs that like maybe the crowd isn't jiving with, but you have to keep your head up and then make that adjustment,
And what is an adjustment? Let's say you walk into a very cold crowd, like everyone's talking, no one's dancing. Like, what are you doing? Are you dancing? Like, are you fist pumping even harder, or are you just changing the tune? What's your go-to move?
Depends on the hour of the night, right?
Okay.
I would say, like, well, first of all, if I come in, like if I walk into a bar and it's 8 p.m., I hate to say it, regardless of what you play, I don't know if people are going to be dancing. Like, they are all getting started with their night. Now, but if I'm going to play, there was one time I was playing at a club, like that after hours club, where I'm like, I need to get on. And granted, I knew those people so well that I like knew kind of what would get them going. But a lot of times it was like higher tempo music. Like I had a buddy playing Afro before me, and it was good, but it was a little chiller. So I had some like Afro tech that was like a mix between Afro and tech house, where it's like heavier, and like put that on, which transitioned out of his set. Because sometimes I think like if someone's playing disco before you, and then you go to like heavy techno, that's like just crazy. Like the crowd will not respond well to that.
Right.
It's just too much. But then it's like, okay, I made this little hybrid song. Then like I always say, those songs are so important. They're like those transition songs. Yeah. It's like it's kind of Afro, but it's kind of tech house. Okay, now we're in the tech house, and now the crowd, the energy's up, the BPM's higher. Like having those songs is super important to make those transitions. I mean, and this is a shit one, but sometimes you do need a flip, like meaning like you need a song that's in your genre, but has like a known acapella that people can sing to, depending on your crowd. Okay. So like we were playing I was playing on Thursday, and I was playing some like really deep cuts, and like it was like again a different vibe because Dante's hi-fi. People were dressed up nice. It wasn't necessarily like a heavy dancing scene, like a dance club,
right?
But I was like, I want to get people grooving a little bit. And I played a flip to like an Afro flip to like a well-known like UKG song,
right?
And got people moving and grooving.
Okay.
So that's like kind of like a little bit of a cheat code. Sometimes I'll bring in like a known acapella and just throw it in right before the drop. And then when people hear that like quick change, like, oh, wait, they kind of wake up. It's kind of like slapping someone like before a sports game, like kind of gets them going.
Have you ever played like a house party?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The first like gig I played, not like paid gig, but the first gig I played was a house party in someone's kitchen.
Are you bringing the same energy that you had at Soho House Thursday night to a house party?
Like
the
we're
dancing.
Going. Yeah, no. The house parties I think are crazier.
But
there's no fucking rules.
Sure.
Like Texas in the summer, my shirt's off, I'm dripping sweat. Yeah, we're fucking, and like I feel a little more like I can try different things and fuck around a little bit. Like that's a great place to experiment.
Yeah.
Now, but again, it depends on the hour of the night. That's the biggest thing. If I'm playing a house party, but it's 8-9 p.m., I'm not.
That's what I'm envisioning. Like people are just starting to trickle in.
No, don't be like don't be a D. It's like read a fucking room. Because it's like imagine going to a bar as a patron and the music's chill. Say you're going out with your guy friends and you're trying to meet some girls, and the music's chill and you're just fist pumping like a fucking psychopath. No one's gonna want to fucking talk to you. Read the room.
No girls talking to us for sure.
But you want to like play it chill.
Because I'm married, that's why.
But like you want to play it chill, man. And then it's like when the crowd gets to that point, like there's a little bit because also you have to kind of lead them there. So, like, you do have to play that music that's going to get them to dance, but there's a way to do it.
Okay.
Like, you have to, in my opinion, you should be doing it gradually. You should not be fucking just ramping up the BPM, changing the genre of the next song. Like, it just, I don't know. It just sounds like shit, I think.
So, one question I've been asking the musicians here is Spotify. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Both?
I don't mind it. I feel like people might, like, again, like, I'm newer, and, like, don't get me wrong, like, you don't get paid a lot for your plays.
Yeah.
The algorithm's tough to break into, but you just got to play the hand that you're dealt. Like, it's giving you a platform for, like, people all over the world to listen to your music. So, like, yeah, in an ideal world, I wish I was getting paid more for each stream. But, like, it's also different with house music and electronic is because, like, I can literally go DJ anywhere. I just have to bring my USB and play, and that's where I get paid good money. Whereas like my buddy who's in like a punk rock band in Brooklyn, it's harder for him to get gigs, and then it's harder for them to get paid. There's 5 people in the band. So for them, the streams matter so much more.
Yeah.
Like they're like, fuck, I wish we were getting paid for these. But for me, it's like, no, if I want more money, I'm going to book 4 gigs this weekend and, cake out and then chill the next, or, So like I have a little more control because of the genre of music that I'm producing and like participating in.
I think you're very self-aware. That's a great answer. So being the analytical guy, I'm sure the data that Spotify provides you, does that help you make music?
Or
I'm sure it helps you push like advertisements to certain cities.
That's the big one, and then also where you want to play. So it's like my music's doing well in Colombia, and I started reaching out to like DJs, artists, and club owners in Medellin. Yeah. I'm going in January, and I landed my first gig down there.
Oh, awesome!
But it's
very cool.
It's good to leverage that.
Yeah,
like I'm like, oh look, I have all these like people who are listening. Like I can run ads, bring them out. A bunch of people from Colombia follow me on Instagram. Like it all plays into the same ecosystem.
So does that help you make music specifically for that area, or
I'm still speaking to myself?
Okay,
I think it's just I think coincidentally the music that speaks to me is speaking to those type of people too.
Yeah,
and I'm leaning into that, but I'm not ever gonna like, I should make it even more Latin and reggaeton-esque. It's like, nah, I'm going to play my music that I like to play. And and don't get me wrong, when I go down there, I'm going to play some like classic like reggaeton, Afro flips.
Yeah,
that's just reading a crowd. That's
play to the culture. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Like more so than I would here potentially. But at the same rate, it's still got the essence of, I think there's that balance, right? You don't want to lose yourself. You don't need to be playing like reggaeton, Bad Bunny, Afro flips all fucking night, but playing them, sprinkling them tastefully in your set is important to that crowd in particular,
So you already played Concourse. Well, let's talk about that. How did that come to be?
I was DJing a house party. I was DJing an afters at a house. I'm not even fucking with you. There are like 25 people there. and I was like, I played for 3 hours straight. I was on one. I was playing like all my deep cuts, like, because people were loose. People were ready to dance. We were like partying on a boat all day. And Francis's manager was
this during the summertime too?
Yes, it was in May.
They were on a boat and they came back to a house to party?
Yeah.
They must have been young.
Yeah, I mean, like,
I'm 37. If I go on a boat party, the last thing I'm doing is going out. I'm getting P. Terry's and I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like, because like we're in a house, though. It's a little more comfortable. You can go chill on the couch if you want. Okay. It's not like you have to be in it.
Dude, I'm being a fat piece of shit when I get off a boat party. I'm just stuffing my face because I'm drunk and I'm going to bed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think most people did. I mean, there was 150 people in the boat, and then 25, 30 came to the house party, so the retention rate was pretty low.
That's awesome. So you play the house party?
You saw me playing there. I was playing I played like 4 of Francis's songs, and they were like a little more deep cut. Like they weren't the hugely popular ones. And his manager was in the kitchen the whole time.
Did you know that?
No idea.
Liar. No, I'm kidding.
God, no, I had no idea. I think I knew the guy worked in the music industry, but I didn't know like for who or for what.
Okay.
Maybe I knew. Yeah, I don't know. I think I knew that he worked in the music industry, but I also didn't not that I didn't care, but I wasn't paying attention to it. I was just playing what I like to play.
Yeah.
And he came up to me after, and he was just like, "Yo, he was like, play a lot of Francis tonight," and I was like, yeah, he's great. Like I love his music, and he was like,
I have a poster.
And
he was
he was like, he's my boy, and I'm like, yeah, he's my boy.
He's my boy too, man. Totally.
Yeah, he was like, he's my boy too, and he's like, nah, like I'm his manager. He's my boy, and I was like, oh, good shit. And then he was like, here, let me get your contact info. Like, I thought you'd like DJ great tonight. Like if he, I don't know if he said if he ever comes to Austin, would you want to play? But he's like, let's stay in touch. That's it. I think, cool. Followed each other on Instagram. He hit me up like a month or 2 later and said, hey, Francis might get booked at the Concourse. Would you be comfortable opening for him? And I was like, absolutely. And then, kind of fell into place.
But at that point, see, when stuff like that kind of happens to me, they tell me, oh yeah, we'll keep in touch. Immediately in the back of my head, I'm like, I'll never talk to this individual again. So not because I don't like that person, not because I don't like the idea, because I don't want to get my hopes up. Because in my industry, a lot of things have been told that was going to come my way. I get worked up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to do this thing. And then I start telling people, yeah, I'm going to be, at ACL.
I don't tell people until I get the fucking email.
Exactly.
No, you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
No.
So I've learned my lesson. So I just keep shut. I keep my mouth shut, and then I just don't. It's not going to happen.
At the seams like this.
Yeah, but when you hear like, oh yeah, I'll reach out to, is your mind like, yeah, sure, whatever, or is it like, oh my God, it's going to happen?
With music, and this is either fortunate or unfortunate. A lot of it is networking, and like it's those little connections that get you that like big slot that can always catapult you. So you really have to take them all and like, you know, like I guess like squeeze the juice out of them as much as you can if you have the opportunity. Now I'm not a big like, I like things happening organically. I'm not one to like get in front of someone and be like, oh, listen to my music. Like I think that's, it's just so obnoxious and annoying. But if it comes up naturally, I'm going to say like, yeah, like what do I do for work? Well, I'm in engineering and I'm trying to transition out of music, and like, and people are usually like, oh, like how so? Do you DJ? And then I'm like, yeah, I have music on Spotify. And a lot of times people are like, oh shit, like I want to listen to it. But when I met him, and seemed very genuine, you know, like he came up to me, right? I didn't come up to him.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
So I felt more comfortable like reaching out if I needed to. Whereas like, again, he just hit me up after the fact. But when people are reaching out to you, then it's like, all right, well now
now it's something real.
Yeah, you gotta be honest. And like, honestly, that's kind of my cadence. Like when I first started, I would reach out to people. This entire year, I wasn't really reaching out as much. And like, granted, like I probably missed a few gigs I could have played that were decent, like by not reaching out.
Yeah.
But like when I'm trying to play abroad, like in Colombia, I was the one who reached out to them because they don't fucking know me. Like,
right.
I have to do that. But in Austin now, I have enough of a following and like a brand representation where like, you know, I'm going to wait till people reach out to me. And like with these bigger ones too, I think the big thing that changes you from every other DJ is your music. So like if you want to open up for a certain DJ and you have music that is aligned with that subgenre genre and it's good, and you know you have the DJing experience, like they will put you on, you know. Sometimes it is like reaching out to them. Like, I'm not gonna lie, when And Me played big like Kai Music, it was a sold out show at Concourse. I didn't reach out to the concourse, but I reached out, I sent in music to him, to the artist, and I said, yo dude, I'm in Austin, like I would, you know, I'm probably gonna be at the show, I would love to like, I don't even think I actually said I want to open up for you. I'm like, I can't wait for the show. Great example, right? And I'm like, you know, I'm putting it out there. If he fucked with my music enough, he would have reached out, and he didn't. Yeah. Like I wasn't there yet, which I'm okay with too.
Sure.
It's like it's part of the process.
Yeah. So the guy reaches, like, so he says he's going to reach out to you. You guys part ways. Then how far in advance did he reach out to you to let you know that, hey,
2 months.
2 months. Okay.
Yeah, 2.5.
All right.
But yeah, this was the ironic part, was like he reached out 2.5 months out and said he's getting booked. Would you want to play? I said, yeah. I didn't hear anything from the concourse a whole month. It's August now. The show's September 20th. It's August.
That would eat me alive.
I was like, fuck.
I don't have the mental fortitude to do that stuff.
Well, then I asked him, I'm like, hey, is this like, I don't mean, you know, again, I'm always prefacing like, I don't mean to bug you, but like, I know you're really busy, but what is the cadence with this? Like, did I get the gig? Or
am I playing or am I not?
Or do we have to go through other hoops and ladders? What else do you need me to do? Do I need to do anything from my end to help this process move along? And he said, well, at the end of the day, the concourse has final say. So I was like, I can't really do anything. He put my name forward, and that was that. I am not shitting you. I think it was like a week out. I was in a fucking on a work trip in St. Louis for my day job. No joke, I was like talking to my sister on the phone, checking Instagram in the morning right before I was going in the hospital, and I pulled up my Instagram and I was tagged in a post from the concourse that said I was playing there. I didn't even get reached out by them. And they were like, there was a miss in communication. They're like, yeah, he was picked for a few weeks now. No one reached out. We don't know. And I'm like, all right. I mean, that's fine. Like, I was in fucking St. Louis, though, 48 hours before. That's when I got, like, you know. And I don't know if it was, like, I don't know what it was. Like, I don't know if Francis got booked late and they just didn't have the optics on that. Yeah. They took care of me once I got, like, once we were like, hey, I was like, yo, no one reached out to me yet. Like, let's situate this and sort this out. But once I did reach out, they were really good with communication and payment and all that stuff. They were very professional.
That's just, I don't know. Like, it's, to me, in my mind, it's very hard to not do the basic things. Like, if you can do the basic things of communication, I think that goes so far. Yeah. Just being responsive in emails.
Well, I'll just say they were very responsive.
I know after the fact. Got broken.
I think whoever that person was supposed to reach out to me.
I know.
Just, like, went under the rug.
It's just like, I've grown as a business owner to know that the communication is the first thing. And I don't think tagging an artist on an Instagram page is a very formal way of inviting you to play at their venue. And I'm not talking again. Granted, there could be a lot of stuff that was going on,
and
but
I think there was.
That's just shit from your perspective. That I'm upset that that's the way you found out. Like, this is a big event for you.
Yeah, no, well, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of hyped because I was like, no fucking shit. I'm like, I fucking got it, because I told my friends, I was like, yo, I think there's a good chance. I'm not gonna confirm till I get the fucking email, the text, or whatever it is. And when I got it, because I think he reached out and he said, let me get your email. Someone should be reaching out to you. He said that, I think, where was I flying in from? But he said that like a month and a half in advance of the gig. Like that, like someone should be reaching out to me, like Francis's manager. So I was like, okay, cool. And so at that point, I like was 95% sure I had it. So I was already kind of preparing myself.
Okay, yeah.
And like I was already like set to come home on time. Like I had people ask me to play that night, Friday, the September 20th. And I was like, hey, I'm waiting to hear back from this gig. And I like pushed them, you know, I was like, hey, can I play on Saturday or whatever? Like, and like, thank God I did, because I would have been blown if I took another gig and, you know, it happened the way it happened.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's shitty, but I also think like all opening for DJs, it's just like, obviously it's a huge gig for me, but for them, it's like, it's the artist is the main focus. And like, I'm a local direct support guy, and like, it's big for me. It is, but like, I don't know. But
it's also
tiers of priority.
Again, like, as when you do get to that level, like, just remember that moment, and like, you know, pass it on, so that way your opener doesn't get notified on Instagram, you know.
Yeah, I know. and again, it wasn't on.
I know.
Team. Yeah,
I'm not dogging anybody, but I'm just from your perspective.
No, absolutely.
My perspective.
I'm
like,
an over communicator.
Sure.
Like, I love that. I'm also like, I've done the event planning stuff. Like, I have an event planning company here.
Yeah, which is
Zest & Co. Yeah, buddy.
Nice.
But I love that I have done both, because I've seen every side of everything. I know how the clubs work, the local clubs. I know how the promoters work. I know how to promote. I know how to market. You know, everything plays into the same like sphere. And it's good to see both those things, because sometimes you have promoters who don't know a fucking thing about DJing,
right? And
they're like talking to DJs, and they're like, "What the fuck? You don't even know what you're talking about."
Yeah.
Or like on the flip side, where DJs like don't know all the things that go into the promotion side and the marketing side. It's like, I'm doing more work than you're doing for me, and this is why I'm paying you X amount. Like I can, you know, wheel and deal both ends of that spectrum because of that.
Because you have an understanding. Just make sure you don't communicate via voice message, because I hate that shit.
I love it, man.
It's so dumb. I listen to it. I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to make that edit. I go back to it. Fuck, it's gone. All right, well, I think this is the way it's going to play out. So, yeah.
I was like, twofold.
But I know now, because I am such a geriatric, I learned how to save audio messages. Thanks, bud.
Well, I will say though that I'm the one being lazy by not texting it out, and like I think in the rare like that is one of the circumstances that texting is actually better. Yeah. Because you have this thing to reference to all the time. You don't have to like figure it out in a voice note.
Hold on, let me pause the music that I'm editing to listen to the voice message. No. Now let me pause the voice message.
You were right.
Go back to the.
No, you're right. I'm being lazy, because a voice message, it's like it takes a minute and a half for me to get all this detail out in this thing. Whereas like if I had to text that, also to be fair, articulating via voice note is easier than writing sometimes.
It is. It's a better understanding. There's undertones that like sometimes text just translates things into, oh, he's an asshole. Yeah. But absolutely. Voice message, it's like, oh, I understand the tone. I understand the sentiment.
A piece
so
I
get that, and that's what I've learned from, you know, voice memos. What else was I going to say? That we've been at it for like an hour 15. Oh shit, hour 30. So wrapping this up. What do you want to do in the next 2 to 3 years? What's the game plan? Move to Miami, I guess, right?
Well, so this year is my last year in Austin.
Okay.
I think this year I know, and then the next 2 or 3 I can talk to about.
Sure.
But this one I feel like I have more goals in mind, especially because the new year is coming.
Yeah.
or New Year's,
Like,
the end of 2024.
Yeah.
I definitely want to get a couple singles signed at like record labels just to help me like market and promote, get more exposure,
Yeah.
I do want to play as many sets out of town as I can so that when I do move to Miami, I can hit the ground running and I'm not like scrambling to find sets. Like I want to do the networking. Like I'm already doing the networking right now with the right people, but like I wanted, so when I moved to Miami, that my life has already started and I can just hop right in. So like getting sets there. I have a big set in Brooklyn in February. So like playing outside the city to get different exposure as much as I can. That's one. Getting the record, like a couple singles signed at record labels. That's two, just to help with marketing. And then honestly, because like again, I love Austin. I love what it like brought to my life.
Don't do that. Don't make me cry.
No, but I do want to leave it in a better place where I found it and like leave my footprint. And I think I have positively affected the community here, but my last like project, I guess, in terms of like event planning, this summer I was running a series at Alibi called Electric Underground, and it was on Thursdays, and I brought in a bunch of artists that I liked. Yeah. And I had them play. I told them, like, play the music that you're not usually comfortable playing in front of the normal crowd. Like, play your underground shit. They all got it. It's just like, I'm giving you the go. Like, rip it.
Right.
And it went well, but it is a club, and you need to get people dancing. So there's a balance, but I do think that club, at least from my perspective, promoted artists to, like, I had them, out of all the clubs I played at, that was the one where I felt I had the most room to express myself.
Sure, yeah.
Right? Taking that and translating it to Dante's Hi-Fi, where we played in Soho House. So Dante's Hi-Fi started in Miami. And like,
that's right.
In the bio, if you look at the Instagram, it'll say like your Shazam's gonna be broken by the end, because it like 100% promotes DJs to play music that, like, again, is underground. Now the Dante's Hi-Fi in Miami, I'm pretty sure is vinyl only, whereas like obviously we were using digital decks in Austin. But I have a good relationship with the person who works that room, and I really would love to start essentially an Electric Underground-esque series at Dante's Hi-Fi once a month. Yeah. And like, dude, the sound system's beautiful. It's a sexy vibe.
It is very sexy. Like, it's different. It took me a little bit to get accustomed to the situation. Yeah. Because I wasn't used to filming in that type of environment.
With furniture.
Furniture.
Like a living room.
Right. And people were having like casual conversations, which is kind of unusual at your shows, because typically the music is just like blaring. You have no other option but to dance and like have a good time.
Yes. And like, don't get me wrong, that was a thing I had to adapt to in that session, because like I was like, EP release party, like we're gonna throw, but then I was like, okay, reading the crowd, people are still getting acclimated to the space, so I'm gonna play that. But the sick thing was, with the sound system was so good, when you play on a good sound system, you can play chill house songs and they're gonna fucking bump, and people are like, still like, I got people who followed me after and hit me up and was like, I loved your set and all that stuff. And like, it wasn't like this high energy club set, but they appreciated the music, right? So like, being able to give artists that safe space, like that's what I would want to do with that space. So that's like kind of like what I have in my head for like my final project. And I hope that when I leave, someone can take that over and they can continue it and continue to foster like what we talked about, house music, allowing people to be creative and fully express themselves in a safe space, and have audiences that are receptive to it. Because that's my other piece that I liked about Dante's too, is it's small. Like the capacity is like 100 people. Yeah. And that's great, because it's like, it's not about, again, playing in front of 1,000 people who are all going to jam, but maybe you're not playing music you love. Like, play in front of 100 people who fuck with you, and you get to, fully express yourself. And like, that's what I would love to leave, like a series, a venue.
Well, not leave, but because I
would want to leave as in like, I would like, I'm not going to be running it anymore. I know. You know what I mean?
You're not leaving. You're just taking a break, and you're going to come back at some point.
Yeah. But nah, it's been great. Like I fucking love Austin. Like it truly has been such a special place. Like meeting creatives who I've helped them with their careers. They've helped me insanely. Like it's such a healthy community and healthy, like healthier than a lot of other cities. So much respect for that. I've made such incredible friends. But like I said, at least for me, I just feel like I need to.
But I've gotten too big for my britches, and I'm going to leave now.
No.
I'm kidding. No, it's been a fun time. I'm excited what you're going to do. And yeah, we'll find some other places to work together for sure.
Absolutely, bro.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, anything else you want to say?
That's all I got, man.
Cool. That's all I got. That was almost an hour and 40 minutes.
Nice.
Dude, you're a good conversationalist.
How long do you usually go? An hour?
I set my timer for an hour, and then anything after that is Gucci. Yeah, it did. Yeah.
I probably got here at like 8 or 7. Probably not. Not even.
All
no.
right.
I'm pleading the fifth. Fucking extrapolating.
That's it. Thank you so much, buddy.
Of course.
All right.